from where you at. I came here for vengeance, watch your back. No need to defend, I'm on attack. Sorry they can't reply, but I guarantee they had a blast. Pop, 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 I be on the next only, yeah, I am fresh to death.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Long Haul Mentality. And today I have my old coach on. What's up, Chris? How are you, dude?
What up, Nick? What's going on, buddy?
How are you? Doing good?
Another day, just adapting to being old.
I'm still quite a bit younger than you, and I feel the same way. But I think having a 4-year-old tacks a few extra years onto me for sure.
Yeah. The weirdest part is people are like, oh, you don't look at all old. I'm like, it's not. I know a lot of people don't care what they perform like, and they care more about what they look like, but I care the opposite.
Yeah.
So it's like as you get older and you start to see your physical ability decline, where I have the inability to jump, run, move, recover and nearly as fast as I used to. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, 100%.
As soon as somebody puts that into perspective, well, what does it matter? You've already done it. I'm like, well, I still would like to be able to physically do the things that I used to do, knowing that every year it just gets harder and harder, or it's just impossible.
How's your most recent old man injury? How's your hamstring?
Oh, it's terrible. My walk, it flaps. It flaps. Yeah. Yeah.
That's like the hamstring just flaps around. Is that what you mean?
I can feel it flap around. Yeah. It's definitely ruptured in the middle of the belly. There's no question.
That's wild.
But yeah.
They can't really fix that, can they?
No. And nor was I even going to anyway. It's dude, I'm 42. What am I gonna do? Go get her. I didn't lose any function. Okay. I just lost massive strength. Other than I can't run right now, but that might happen later. But if I don't see any deformity and I haven't lost function, I'm not going to volunteer myself for 6 months of surgery, rehab, and have my leg stuck at 90 degrees for 3 months. Dude, that would be a life altering surgery where everything in my life would be more difficult. I'm not about to do that.
No, I completely get it. But what was it you did again? Were you racing on motocross?
Yeah, I was ripping dirt bikes, dude. And I took a hard digger and the bike came and hit me and collapsed me like a lawn chair. So it's the most dangerous thing about racing motocross is when the bike falls with you. If you fall away from your bike, it's generally not as bad as the bike's 225 pounds.
Yeah, right.
Coming at you 34 miles per hour. And the bike tumbled with me and brought my knee to my forehead. So it collapsed me.
So is it that you're getting old, or you're just trying to still continue to do young man stuff?
I guess it's one way of putting it.
Yeah. Come on, man. You're in your 40s. Of course you hurt yourself on a motocross bike.
Dude, it's so fun though, dude. It sucks.
Yeah, I get it, man. But
yeah.
Also, before we get rolling into the episode, Jordan looks awesome, dude.
Thank you.
We got to give him some praise here at the beginning of this, because the changes that he's made in the last few years of pro debut to now is nutty.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He looks huge.
And what's funny about that is even from last year to this year, he's going to be probably another 10 pounds heavier, easily, maybe even more. And we had such a bumpy road this year because of travel, sickness, surgery. There's so many things that were going on that delayed his starting point. He had tons of travel, which delayed us starting our off season almost by another 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And then he had the surgery, and there goes a month. You know what I mean? There's some sickness in there. Goes 3 weeks, but he's still able to pull through, which is fine. And he was worried about I don't know if I made the ground we did. I'm kind of think we did, but you never really know until 4 weeks into dieting, and kind of plays out
there.
But yeah, we kept him leaner this time, and
yes, you did.
And
yes, you did.
We do a little bit more of that every year, and he's genetically actually a chubby kid. People don't realize that. His body wants to be fat, so it was a constant push and pull. As long as his performance was going in the direction it needed to, I was okay with everything else. But now his body, we were able to keep his insulin sensitivity insanely high. So now that we're coming down in calories, there's no lag period, that dreaded lag period as a coach you see when you bring calories down, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And his body just started to respond immediately right away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's at his level, like where he's at, he's starting to crack into that territory of like he's way beyond what his body wants to do, right? Which is bodybuilding. But like I think a lot of people start to get to that point and they continue to try and push themselves like they used to, right?
Yes.
When they were trying to get to that size, and that's when you end up with waist issues, you know, and
Yes. Dude, I drilled him
smart.
so bad. I go, bro, you got to brace your core.
Yep.
Like, you can't be that bodybuilder walking on their belly sticking out. Like,
Yeah.
you walking around, you got to brace your core. You're pushing a lot of food. You're 300 pounds. Like, you got to brace that core all the time. You're doing bicep curls, doing lateral raises.
Yep.
Exhale, blow out. You know, hold that midsection in, hold it tight, and we're able to do that.
Yep.
But like, dude, you know what it is? It's like you let that waist go. It's not funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%, man. But you know, that's a pretty good segue for us to go into the conversation that I wanted to have with you. And we've had this conversation personally a few times on like a minimal text or email thread. But you know, the landscaping of coaching, and I want to talk to you about this because you have been around coaching so long that you've probably seen these trends come and go. And the landscape of coaching right now has almost become this like overcomplicated thing where like there is a protocol for everything, right? There is
it's ridiculous.
Every coach who people deem as like being the smart person that knows all these things has some protocol for like your thyroid, your gut function, your brain function, you're this, you're that. And it's like, okay, cool. That's great. But how much of this is just excessive and how much of this is just like you just need to rework some of the basics in order to improve the other stuff?
Well, I think a couple things happen. One, the lack of knowledge pigeonholes coaches into one method only. Okay, there's one. And then the other is when you have an astronomical amount of clients that you're prepping and you have to handle them, you can't individualize everybody's approach. It's
Right.
impossible. So therefore, this is the protocol for this. This is the protocol for that versus true individuality. The same thing you would see in the medical field with a doctor, right? Oh, you come in, you have mucus. Here's antibiotics. Here's prednisone. Goodbye. Here's antibiotics. Here's prednisone. Goodbye.
Yep.
Versus looking very carefully like, oh, that's a virus. You're all set. Why don't you just take some NyQuil and Dayquil and come back in 7 days? It hasn't come. We'll address antibiotics. Next guy comes in. Oh, you've had it for 2 weeks. Oh, it's a little yellow green. You do need antibiotics. There's more time spent with a doctor, with a patient addressing and doing the right thing on a medical standpoint versus where a lot of coaches today is just like pictures, progression, 8 weeks out. Okay, add Winnie, add this, go next.
Yep.
And then obviously, you know, if you're still going to have a relatively good outcome, it might not be the best outcome for everybody. And that's what gets me. It's just like, dude, I have a lot of clients this year competing, probably more than I've had competing in a while all at once. And like, I'm spending a lot of time in the morning with them. Like, that's the first thing I do in the morning. And everybody's extremely individual.
Yep.
You know, and it's just like the more knowledge you know and the more experience you have, the more weird it gets with individual, you know?
Right. And you know, the thing is like we can't sit here and go, well, them having all these protocols is a bad thing because there are certain times that those things are appropriate. You're gonna run into certain circumstances where like you can't get the person to respond via just the basics, and you need to implement some stuff to help them along, right? But like one of the things that you and I discussed, because I had the issue when we were getting towards the end of my coaching with you, was my gut issue, right? And the protocol that we did. And like, I certainly think that portions of it were necessary, but what was all of it necessary? Right. And it was like, it was very much tailored to me. So it wasn't something that was just like brushed over or whatever, but it's also like, well, could we have just run antibiotics and been fine on the other side of it? Right. So I think that was the first time we kind of had that conversation. So I guess one of the things we could like focus on to use as an example is like how everyone seems to have like, this is how we fix your gut to improve all these other things. Right.
Well, there's like multitude of ways to achieve the same thing sometimes.
Right.
And that's also when it comes to protocols, right? Protocols to increase insulin sensitivity. 4 different methods I can think of on the top of my head all achieve the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or some people are like, they go keto, they keep the calories around the same, maybe a slight caloric deficit, and they go keto, high fat, high protein, like 18 weeks out on a bodybuilder just to skip that stale step where you're cutting calories and nothing's happening. And then they introduce carbs and drop the fats. Some people cycle clan on and off to decrease sensitivity. Some people take other drugs with it, prevent it. It's like everybody's got their own protocol that's all necessarily going to work, but it all has the same result. Like with the gut,
Right.
like, are we going to do antibiotics, or are we going to do a different protocol that might shorten the life, might not? Antibiotics might wipe out more gut microflora and cause another problem. There's just multitude of ways of doing it. And unfortunately, it's hard to always say what was better, because it's not like you're going to go fuck up your gut again and try a different method and then compare. See, one thing I can't stand, because of my master's in my education, people go, hey, how'd your education help you with bodybuilding? Well, it made me think outside the box and maybe not jump to conclusions so much when people hear, hey, I did these things last week and dude, my whole body just got shredded. This product is working so good. Is it? Or is it the 8 other drugs, the diet, the cardio, the lack of sleep perspective, and the progression of diet?
And just
you
time.
Can't possibly make that claim.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
And like, that's why like I'm pretty open to a lot of different methods on how to achieve something particular. Like I have clients who are like adamant about doing something specific that I'm like, maybe, but it's not my preferred method. But if you really want to do that, we can do it.
Right.
And see how it works out. Right. Unless it's really incorrect.
Yeah.
But that's the hard part, right? Is people, it's easier for somebody who doesn't understand much to adopt one way.
Right.
And then be okay with that one way and then dismiss all other ways.
Sure. Yeah. And I think the main point that I'm getting at is like one of the reasons that I signed up with you in the first place, however many years ago that was because when you talked about the process, it was very simple. It's like, hey, you eat the protein, you eat the carbs, you eat your fruits and veggies, you train this way, you do the cardio. This is bodybuilding. This is what it is. And it was almost refreshing to hear that, of like, this is way more simple than people make it out to be. And I have always appreciated how you try to find the most direct and easy shift that now gets the response that we want, right? When I think sometimes with these protocols, people throw it like a hand grenade, right? They're not trying to like figure out what actually happened. They're just lobbing this thing in, and because it's going to explode, something's going to change, right?
Yeah.
So that's been like I think that's the root conversation that I wanted to have with you, is just like, bodybuilding does not have to be this crazy complicated thing. It is a very simple thing. And I think part of the reason that we see this overabundance of people talking about these different protocols and fancy things they do or whatever, or methods that they have to fix XYZ thing, is because it sells, right? Because
100%.
like, if you or I come on here and go, hey, look, just eat the food, train hard, and wait, people are like, well, that can't be the real thing. I've already been doing that. But it's like, well, how good have you been doing that?
It's glamorous.
Right.
Because they associate, they associate complicated with effectiveness.
Right.
Like I remember Casito got in a podcast one time and he's like, you know, I had a client begging to work with me for the longest time. And then his name came up on the list and I signed him up. I sent him his plan. And the guy immediately sent me an email back going, this isn't very scientific. And Aceto goes, no, it's just a plan you have to follow. We're going to follow your response. He's like, well, I need something more scientific. And he's like, I'll just give your money back. It's just like, dude, like, I mean, listen, to each their own. I get people that want to track everything. And I'm like, if you want to spend an extra hour a day tracking everything, by all means do it. But I've prepped myself before without writing anything down. I have. Where it's just like, these are my low days. Okay. I'm going to need another 400 calories of carbohydrates the next 2 days. Okay. Remove those 400 carbohydrates. It's like, you don't have to put everything in spreadsheets. That's not necessarily always going to help you.
It would drive
I guess there's some fundamental things that I think that people do that they shouldn't do. And one of them is this, and this just came to mind, when they're changing gear out within a cycle and they go from introducing a new drug to that max dose of that drug. Okay. Case in point.
Yeah.
8 weeks out, 100 milligrams of tren every other day from 0. Well, that's a good way to cause a lot of side effects.
Yeah.
That's a good way to like create a situation potentially where they're going to have fucked up sleep, disruption of gut, and then all of a sudden now you're going to have to pull back.
Yep.
So why not start slow and work your way up and mitigate the side effects and the dose based on that threshold? That doesn't make any sense to me. The other one was, I get this a lot. I looked at my prep 2 years ago and it looked like when I dropped carbs on Thursday and Friday before a leg day, it worked really well. I can't do anything with that information. That's the most worthless information ever. You could just take all that and just burn it. Like that doesn't help me in any way.
We don't know any of the other context around that other than food.
Nothing. Or your response, not to mention every prep is different.
Yeah, 100%. And I think somewhere along the way, people forget of the concept of minimal effective dose, right? Because it's like, well, if with your example of like we go from no trend to 100 milligrams every other day, how do we even know where your threshold is? How do we even know like what your body responds to? So it's like, does the normal zeitgeist of like what people think is normal for this compound, is that actually what it needs to be, or can it be way, way less in order to accomplish the same thing? Right? Because
what's going on, everyone? Going to take a quick break from the podcast and check in with my main man, Everett, here. You can see the red light on behind me. That just means one thing. We're going to promote some sponsors right quick. There are no paid sponsors or paid ads for this podcast. So anyone who's watching, I appreciate your support. I appreciate your time. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Share this podcast with your friends. Leave a comment. It does help a ton. The other thing you can do is help support the sponsors that work with me. And you see I have my Labrada Pro Series line here. So we've got the Hydro, Glutamine, Creatine, and EAAs with some new pre-workout on the way. So if you like the podcast, you support me, use my code BAGLY10 at checkout and get yourself a discount. Let's get back to the episode.
I had this conversation. I had this conversation with the guy the other day of like, he was talking about introducing trend in his off season. I'm like, why? Like there's no reason to.
Worthless.
Because the main reason we use trenbolone, other than just like idiots online who want to just take it to get huge, right? Like whoop-de-doo. There's a reason we introduced trend. Like it's going to help out with cortisol when you are deep in a prep. And that is the most important factor to this, alongside keeping strength when you are super depleted and trying to get as lean as you can. Like keep some aggression in the system. But it's like, do we need to do that with 700 milligrams a week? I don't think so.
Dude, I haven't seen anybody respond awesome with trend in the off season, except maybe 2 people. And we did 25 milligrams every other day.
Yeah.
And it was to break a plateau towards the last 6 weeks of a cycle.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's people look at it, they look at the rating and they associate 5 times more androgenic anabolic than testosterone. So it must transfer that into reality when it doesn't. And 9 out of 10 times when people want to do it, my clients want to do it. And I go, okay, dude, you'll see. And then 4 weeks into it, they're like, bro, I feel like shit. I can't eat, can't sleep. And I almost look softer. I'm like, yeah, because you can't sleep and you can't eat. And thanks for wasting 4 weeks. Awesome. Okay, let's move on. You know,
but I think that's a great thing for you to point out. Is sometimes you just have to let people learn. Like,
I do that all the time.
I know this is wrong, but go ahead. You're so adamant about this. Send it. Spend your money. Take the thing. Do the time, and let's see what the result is. Like, you be your own experiment right now, and I'm going to let you make this decision.
Dude, you know what I do sometimes? It's just like, I don't argue with people. I just don't have the capacity to do that. I had some people that like love taking everything under the sun in regards to like peptides and supplements, right?
Yeah.
Not talking about gear. And he just keeps coming out with another peptide he's taking and this and that. This, I really feel like this works and does this. And it's like, okay, that's whatever, dude. It's fine. Just keep it. Just do me a favor. Just keep it consistent, please. Just keep everything consistent and I can work around that. And then right at the end of the prep, he's like, I'm not sure if those peptides really did anything. And I'm like, I know, I could have told you that, but I wasn't going to try to argue with you and change your mind, because people have this, they read about it or hear from somebody in the gym that's big that they used and it worked. And then they're determined that it's going to do the same thing.
Right. And like, to be completely honest, I have been using peptides and a number of different things, but it's like, the path that a lot of people fall into is like they add one and it works pretty well, and then they add another and another and another and another, and it's like a lot of times these things have overlapping responses, and your body you don't necessarily need all that. When like, sure, if you want to use it and it's something you want to try, just start with one, see how it responds, see what your body does.
Dude, you
don't need to throw the fucking kitchen sink at it just because you heard somebody talk about a fat loss product and they talked about 6 other things you can stack it with.
Well, dude,
the way you experiment and learn is by trying one thing, shift one thing at a time. And that's how we try to coach athletes too. But what were you going to say?
Dude, one thing that really gets me, and like I have trouble keeping my cool, that was is these over obsession with all these fat loss drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, if you can't get shredded just by using Clen,
mm-hmm.
there's something wrong with you and your method.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I get guys who are like, I got T3, I got Clen, I got semaglutide, I got injectable carnitine, I got hydroxycut hardcore, I got ephedrine, and I'm like, dude, you don't need any of that crap. Well, in my opinion on the semaglutides, like I'm come from an old school background, and I'm sorry to offend anybody, but I'm not. If you can't handle being hungry in prep, I'm sorry, prep's not for you. And like, it's a part of the process. And like, I look at some concoction of drugs that people come to me taking in their prep. I'm just like, dude, even at my most shredded, I've taken legitimately a third of all this.
Yeah.
And I got body fat flying off me.
100%.
And like, I'm like, what? Why you want 100 micrograms of T3? Like, what is going on?
Start me on that.
Dude, like, that gets me, Nick. It's like, I think carnitine is going to work. I mean, dude, if you want to stick yourself twice per day, knock yourself out. But I think you're wasting your money.
Sure.
I think you're wasting your time. Spend your money and your effort to what's really going to be effective.
Right. And now I will take the other side to this because like it's not fun when we just sit here and agree the whole time, right? But I think that all of those things are a tool.
Yeah.
But what we are seeing is most people are just like hopping on immediately and they're trying something, right? Now, the thing is I have a number of clients. I have a couple of lifestyle clients that are using semaglutide or retatrutide or whatever, but it's also because it's attached to their A1C. It's attached to their glucose things. It's attached to the things that the drug is actually meant for, right? Like these are diabetic drugs. It's not just about you getting lean for summer. Like,
are you talking about competitors or general population?
Both. I have a little bit of both. But it's like it also doesn't need to be like, again, like we talked about, jump to the max dose. Maybe you don't even have to take the normal starting dose. Maybe you take half of that normal starting dose, and maybe it gives us enough of a response to fix the things we need to do without it being something that takes everything over, and we can get it out of the system when we don't need it anymore, right? Yeah. So it's like they're tools to be applied. And the other example before we move on that is like the last time we competed together, the picture that's up on the wall over here, we tried to introduce Clint. And it ruined my sleep. We did it twice. Yeah. And I at that time, I was still waking up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, right? Because I was training so many people in person. So when we introduced it, I'd take 20 micrograms of Clen at 4 o'clock in the morning. By 9 p.m., I was still wired and couldn't sleep for hours. I'd try to go to bed at 9. I'd be awake until midnight, and then I'd finally fall asleep. So we were like, no, fuck that. Don't put that in. And then towards the end, I was like, well, let's try it again. We did it for 2 days, and it was like, nope, immediately not.
Yeah, I agree. So I have a couple guys the same way.
Yeah, and the thing is like, we didn't have to use all of these things, and like, could I have been leaner? Maybe, but we got pretty fucking shredded. Like I was very happy with that. And like, we didn't have to use the kitchen sink to get there. We used cardio and diet, just like everyone did for the last fucking how many decades.
and this is my other worry. And like, maybe unlike other coaches in this aspect, I do think about that clients 20 years from now.
100%.
And like, you know, I'm looking at, like, I was talking to my dad the other day about this. My dad's a physician, for those of you who don't know. And I'm like, Dad, how many drugs over the last 30 years have hit the market, went through adequate testing of large populations, made it through clinical controlled trials, made it through testing, and hit the market? And then after 5 or 6 years, because the side effects were so long after, they realized this drug was killing people or causing interactions with other conditions or comorbidities or associations, and they pulled it off the market because so many people had heart attacks. Yep. He goes, countless, and they're still in investigation all the time. Now I'm sitting here as a coach being like, we're already pushing the envelope with using androgens that are not adding years to your life. So everybody listening, you're not adding years to your life. you're probably taking years from your life. Now, we go into the bodybuilding and then you're like, okay, I'm using all the basic shit, my contest drugs, my trend mass test, Winstrol, Anavar, Adex, Clen, T3 growth. And then now I'm going to add 5 peptides, other appetite suppressant drugs, other drugs to help me fall asleep to counter the side effects of other drugs. And now you're a walking pharmacy, and every drug has side effects. And people are forgetting that for every side effect that's positive, there's always a negative. And now what's going to happen to your body? You do that for 10 years, 15 years. And then all of a sudden, these individuals are like near death. And now they're like, I can't believe this has happened. It's like, you can't be that stupid or think that these are just like eating M&Ms. Like, it's not the case. And I tell my clients that, I'm like, dude, like, you want to do the, as you said, Nick, minimum effective dose and get the most out of every milligram before just throwing everything out of it. Because at the end of the day, 15 years from now, you're going to want to run around with your kids and be alive. Okay. And the other thing that people don't get is there's bodybuilders that still die every month that we all don't hear about. I hear about because other coaches send me their obituary and so-and-so national competitor last year, top 10 heavyweight, died eating breakfast. It's like, it's just because it's not on RX Muscle doesn't mean it's happening constantly.
Right.
So it's like people need to like realize what they're doing and look at it differently. Instead of what can I take to make everything better, let's look at what I need to take to get better.
Right. 100%. And like the unfortunate reality of it is like, we can say this a million times in a million different podcasts or text conversations or whatever, but like, imagine you're sitting in front of your 20-year-old self and trying to say these things to you. Like, it doesn't work, right? Like,
although
you might pick up on you might pick up on some of it, but like at that age as a man, like, I mean, I'm 32 and I can look back on my 20s and go, yeah, I did some reckless shit. But it was because I was just like, I can do this. This is going to make me somebody, whatever. And it's like, it's hard to bypass that. Like we all get to a point where we look back on it and go, damn, I was an idiot,
Oh, for sure. But like I say, like, weird for me, like, I was actually scared. My first coach was like, you need Tren, you need test, you need Winnie, you need this. And I'm like, I'm not going to do any of that and just take test propionate. And so like, my first contest prep was just test propionate.
Yep.
And then the next cycle I did for a contest prep was just like test Masteron and injectable Winstrol.
Yep.
Like I was like so scared of everything.
Same.
And it took me years to like work way up.
It's so funny that you say that because through the years of us knowing each other, like the more we talk, the more I'm like, yeah, me and Chris are the same person. He's just a few years older than me because I was the same way. I was terrified. And I remember telling my coach, like, I'm absolutely terrified. And again, this is another one of the reasons why you and I connected so well is like, once you finally gave me the green light of like, hey, I can bring you on, literally the very first email that you sent me was, hey, if you're not okay with not pushing shit, I'm the wrong person for you. I was like, beautiful. Let's fucking do this. And it was just, it worked well from there. And again, I come back to, I've been saying this a lot to a lot of people recently is like, the name of it is performance enhancing drug. Enhancing is in the name. You are already performing. We are just looking to enhance it. We're not looking to hit it with a fucking nuke. Like, if you cannot make progress, whether it's putting on size or cutting body fat without these things, that means just adding them in isn't going to fix that. It's not like all of a sudden you inject yourself and now I can train really well, I can eat really well, I can do cardio better, all those things. Like, there are so many things that I could go back to in my early 20s and go, I could have been training better. I could have been eating better. I could have been sleeping better. I could have been doing this better. Like, there's so many things that I could go through where it's like, well, how much progress did I leave on the table because I outsourced my ability to improve those to a bottle?
Yeah.
Right. And that's what so many people are doing is they're outsourcing that to something else and giving that the credit to what happened. Right. And it's insane. It's like, you're just speeding up the process to your deathbed. Like Chris was saying, is like, if you're going to be stupid and try to make 5 years of progress in one, like, yeah, dude, you need to understand what you're getting yourself into.
And it's also not even going to work because your body can only synthesize lean tissue so quickly.
Yep.
And
it'll work for a bit.
Yeah.
It'll work
Everybody's
for a
got the
bit.
movie gains, but like, it is people are like, oh, so-and-so gained 30 pounds in 2 years or a year and a half. I'm
Mhm.
like, that's like 0.01% of bodybuilders that do that.
Mhm.
Like we all train many competitors where we're scraping 3 to 4 pounds of stage weight per year. And like, that's it. Like
Right.
that's normal.
And I had to explain to one of my men's physique pros the other day, like how we approach things, because obviously whoever was teaching him previously had like thoughts stuck in the 90s, right? And like he has gotten his body to a point where it is so sensitive to estrogen that he was starting to develop gyno when his estrogen was like in the tanks. It was already really low.
Yep.
And then his way of solving it was, cool, I'll take letrozole for 3 days. And we pulled labs after he did that, and his estrogen was literally zero. And he's like, well, I'm just terrified to develop gyno, and I just don't want to be one of those guys that like has to go do this, that, and the other. I said, hey, the reality of the situation is if you're noticing it getting puffy and having to take an AI to deal with it, you have gyno. It just is what it is. There is no getting rid of it. There is no compound that you can
Yep.
take that is a gyno reduced, like removing substance. If
Yep.
there was, there'd be a billionaire in the bodybuilding industry.
Yep.
Right? Because like I have gyno, right? It just is what it is. And I just never got rid of it because now it doesn't matter anymore. But that's he pushed himself just because it worked, and because the point I was going to make there is that he was like, well, what worked in the past is taking 1.25 of letro every other day, and then at some point we moved up to every day, and then some point we moved up to 2 every day.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, well, so the thing is like, yeah, that worked at that time, but now on the flip side of this, because you had no estrogen, you have created an insulin resistant state where your body is now fighting the fuck out of me. So like, I got to not only get your body reused to estrogen again, I also have to try and combat your gyno at the same time. So it's like your old thought processes that worked for you previously can only carry you so far without them continuing to create damage, right? Because
not only that, think about like the high dose of AI is going to do to your health and your bone density.
Right. And again, if I run his AIs like that and I mess his health up, I'm going to mess up the next peak that we do. I'm going to mess up the next prep that we do, right? So like the further you push that body into a state where it is not healthy for what we need to do, then I'm not going to be able to get the result. So it's like we're trying to now undo all of the old thought processes because someone was reckless with him and gave him reckless ideas. So it's like we now have to approach this completely differently. And hey, look, yes, that worked before, but we can keep that in our back pocket if we need to for last minute, but we can get the response by doing XYZ first in order to where we don't have to do that, you know?
Dude, one thing to backtrack real quick was really funny is remember when I messaged you and I said, hey, I'm not into pushing it. If that's what you want to do, I'm not the coach for you. Is Jordan reached out to me and I initially said no, right? Because he came from Matt Jansen. No offense, Matt Jansen, but like I didn't want to deal with what he was used to taking because I just didn't want to deal with it. And I said no. And then he asked again, and I said, send me your stuff. And I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I can get you, but it's going to be like a month. And then he contacted me again that same date. And I'm like, all right, well, he seems responsive. And I gave him the same spiel. And he goes, whatever, dude, I'll do whatever you tell me. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I just didn't want to deal with it. Because I've had clients from Matt Porter before, and they're like, they come to me and they tell me what they're taking. I'm like, bro, I don't even want to work with you. Because I don't want to like go through like everything. Like, why is Trend not 800 milligrams a week? I'm like, I'm not doing this. Go work with somebody else that's going to put you on a bunch of crap. Like 100%. I'm all set. But anyway, back to what you were saying about gyno, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's just, it was a perfect example, but no, you had a point. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the gyno, which people don't get, is AIs and Nolvadex doesn't always stop gyno.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've had a couple instances, not many, one particular guy who stopped using gear for a full 18 months. Gyno started to bother him. And I'm like, he's like, dude, do you think I should take Letro? I'm like, before you start shooting in the dark, why don't you just go get your labs? Okay. He gets his labs done. Estrogen's low end of normal. Prolactin's normal. Testosterone 400. Everything's normal. And he goes, why my nipples hurt? Guy, sometimes when the breast tissue's there, it's just there.
Mm-hmm.
And in taking Letro or an AI at that point, especially in that situation, it's not going to solve anything. You have to remove the gyno. There's no way around it. And some of my other guys are always like trying to steal clear of that. I can't use this compound. I can't use this compound because of gyno. I like to run AIs. That's not an answer either. But now all of what you're not able to do is going to affect your ability to grow. So now you're taking drugs that are harder on your health with less effective to muscle growth, all to combat gyno, which you can't control.
Yep.
So it's like some people can manage gyno very well. But honestly, there's going to be probably, I don't know, this is blind me saying this, kind of dumb. Maybe 25% of people are not going to be able to manage it until they get rid of it.
Yep. 100%.
And there's just no way around that.
And that was kind of where I was as well. And like it's just the unfortunate reality of things. But to circle back to something you mentioned a minute ago is like one of the things that you really taught me. A lot of who I am now as a coach is based off of like what you taught me, right? At least around the structure of how you handle things. And I think one of the best lessons you ever gave me without really necessarily knowing it was a lesson was when I first emailed you sent me a thing. It was like, hey man, I can't take you on right now. I'm full capacity. Here's this form, fill this out, send it back to me. And when you do, I'll put you on a wait list. It's like, cool. I filled it out, got it back to you as quickly as I could. It had to have been 30 minutes and I responded. And when you got that back, you're like, hey, you actually did this. So if you want to start, you can start. And the fact that you also did it to Jordan, and there's probably also another ton of clients you could mention where you like tested them. You're like, all right, well, this is your first introduction to see if you're even going to follow what the fuck I say. And it's such a beautiful thing because it's like, people don't even realize it. Right? They don't realize that you're testing them. It's like, okay, do you actually want to work with me or do you just think you want to work with me? Because if I can't get you to fill out this questionnaire to hopefully work with me at some point, you're not going to do what I need you to when you're 6 weeks out and you don't want to go lower on cardio or lower on food, higher on cardio, push harder to get to where we need to be. And I think that's such a great lesson.
Yeah, dude. And like, you're right, because, obviously someone's ability to follow directions doesn't always reflect they're going to be 100% coachable, obviously, right. But it's usually a good sign that if they follow directions and they're filling out and they're methodical in what they're saying, it's good. But we also get the people that like over give you too much information and you're like, this is going to be an overthinker here because they're giving me data from like 3 years ago. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Just email after email of diet logs. I'm like, this doesn't help me at all. I need to know what's going on in the last 30 days and that's it.
Yep.
And what's funny is you say that is because I have a client, right? And for those who are listening, like your ability to follow directions is one thing, but your ability to understand and comprehend the goal and have common sense in regards to following a plan is overlooked. So I'm lucky, like I have a good guys I've worked with, but I had one guy this year, he just wasn't responding how I would typically see somebody respond. So at first I was like, he's like, do you think we're going to be ready? And I'm like, no, no, because I'll be honest with you. I go, I don't know what you're doing. And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, bro, I tested you last week. I brought your calories down to like 1,500 calories and I gave you a lot of cardio and just to see how you respond. And you told me you feel great. And you told me you're not tired, which tells me that there's something else at play here that you are not aware of. Like, I'm not saying you're maliciously doing this, but you're not even aware of it.
Yeah.
So long story short, got him on the phone and went through every single detail of that plan. And sure enough, I found an additional 85 grams of fat being consumed in the day with things he was adding or cooking in the meal.
85 grams. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. And it was also an additional, I think, 50 to about 50 grams of carbohydrates coming from sugar. So it's like, dude,
I'm almost impressed.
But the thing is, like, I had to speak to him to figure it out.
Yeah.
You're following everything 100%. Yes, man, everything's in the plan. Okay, let's go on a phone call. We're going to break down everything. What kind of eggs you're using? Oh, I'm using Vital Farms. Okay. What kind of pan you're using? What are you using in the pan? Oh, I use spray. How much spray? Oh, just a little bit. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Are you holding it down going, shh? Or are you going, shh? I walked through everything. And then I found all the problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it didn't make sense. Sometimes, like, you obviously will get people that don't respond sometimes, but it's usually when they're very low body fat and you're trying to get them a little extra, but usually fatigue's high or there's something present that's going on that you're like, this is as far as your body's going to go.
Yep.
But there's other times when you're like, bro, we're not that lean. And things are kind of weird. But like, that's a perfect example of like somebody who does follow directions, but he thought he was doing it right.
Right.
Like in his mind, it didn't register. Like I had a dude tell me one time, he goes, I didn't know there's sugar in honey. And he was having like 4 or 5 teas a day with honey in it. Yes, I know. But like, bro, it just, that's the thing.
That's special.
But that like
That's
the
special.
things happen, dude, right? It's like, as a coach, we're like,
that one's extra special, man.
yeah, as a coach, you're like, I gotta figure this out. I gotta crack what the hell's going on, because something's going on, you know?
So I think we're coming up on the last 10 minutes we got here, and I have to bring this up because Brittany brought it up. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Are there any funny moments that you remember from working with me as a coach where you're like, this fucking guy? Was there any of those moments?
No, you've been actually really good. I never had any problems with you.
All right, end the episode. That is all I needed to hear.
Bro, there could have been something funny that I just don't remember.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I've had people do some wacky things sometimes, and it's just like, okay, you just kind of go with the flow. Like I remember,
let's hear some examples, and we'll finish off with something funny at the end.
Oh, I had dudes measuring rice raw.
Oh, like for their meal?
So it's like 140 grams of rice. He was measuring 140 grams per meal. He's like, bro, he's like, bro, this is a lot of rice. I'm like, 140 grams is not a lot of rice, dude. And he's like getting puffy and shit. And then I'm like looking through it, and he's like, oh, dude, oh, I totally read that wrong. I'm like, eating like significantly more. I'm like, yeah, you're eating over 100 grams of carbs of rice per meal. And I had you on freaking 45.
Yeah. I mean, that's a simple one, because I mean, I know some people that do everything dry.
I've had people do this. Like when I tell them, like, they like to measure cups sometimes, but I have to do like, grams. And for whatever reason, he was using cups, and he was packing the rice into the cup. Right. Which was fine, because he did that the entire time.
Right.
So 3 weeks out, he's like, bro, I've been having 215 grams of rice, and you have me at like 160. What do I do? I'm like, nothing. You got to continue the same thing.
Yep.
Because I'm basing all my changes on what you're doing.
Yep.
Oh, I've had people do this. I don't want to speak of that one because it's so recent. I'll tell you that off air. When people do things that are drastic, right, on their own. For example, my gyno flared up, so I took 3 Arimidex today.
Ugh.
Stuff like that. Like that's not what we're gonna do. Or I was feeling a little flat, so I took the liberty to have a little extra food. What did you have extra food? Just a little bit of extra rice, some peanut butter. How much rice?
Bullshit.
And then you go through the list, and it gets greater and greater.
Yep.
Luckily, I mean, I don't have any. I have some distinct stories of like people jumping 11 pounds after a high day. And I'm like, bro, listen.
What'd you do?
Bro, I'm really sensitive to carb days. Yeah, 11 pounds is a bit much. I go, are you sure you followed everything exactly? Well, I had a little extra to each meal. I'm like, okay, listen, man, we're 5 weeks out. I need to know what you did, because it's going to greatly reflect what I'm doing the next high day. Long story short, it was like almost double the amount of carbohydrates. It wasn't even close. It wasn't like I'm doing 320 grams of rice and it bumped up. It was more like I did 500 grams of rice and then had a glass of orange juice. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It's such an interesting human thing where like I've had it happen a few times where people like get away with something once, and then they continue to try and get away with it until it finally goes wrong, and then they have to confess everything. It's like sometimes they'll do something and get away with it because like it didn't reflect in the thing, and then it starts to get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and then something goes wrong, whether that's like food or a change to cardio or a new drug introduced or whatever. It's like they just make this change and hope we're not going to notice, and then it goes completely wrong, and now you got to confess all these weeks of things, and it's like, why didn't you just tell me from the jump?
Yeah. So 3 quick stories. One, guys injecting in weird places too close to a show. I'm like, bro, what the hell's wrong with your bicep? And he's like, oh, dude, well, like I thought putting my bicep would give me a bigger peak. I'm like, dude, your bicep looks like it's gonna explode, and now it's all watery. And he's like, well, what do I do? I'm like, you're fucked. Like, there's nothing you're gonna do. You're going to start antibiotics. We'll probably run some Advil a little bit to control the swelling, but we're going to have to pull the Advil the last 3 days because that's going to affect your water fluid balance and you're not going to look great. Oh, fuck, man. Fuck. Bro, don't even stress about it because there's nothing you can do.
It is what it is.
It's just going to compound that issue more. It's going to push the show. The other one, dude goes to the beach on Wednesday before the show.
Burnt.
Gets a sunburn.
Yep.
What do I do? Nothing. You're fucked. Now the tan's not going to take. You're going to have inflamed skin. There's nothing you're going to do.
We're going to be watery regardless.
Bro, did you already pay? Yeah, I paid. Then either you don't show up and you lose your money or you show up and hopefully you get fifth. Because that's it. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Use your head. Don't change anything.
I just don't think people even realize it, that it's like, oh yeah, sunburn's inflammation that can mess with me, like, because I've had that happen with clients before too, where it's like, and I've done it myself. Like, I think there was a couple times that I got burnt with you and you're like, well, I can't do anything with this, so you're super watery.
Oh yeah, for a check-in. Yeah
I mean,
I can't stress enough, and like I tell people, like, they ask me something, Chris, is it okay if I take a half a Xanax at night? Have you been taking a half a Xanax at night every night? Yes, I have. Don't change anything. Okay. 3 days later, Chris, I've been actually having like 2 pickles at night before I go to bed. Should I keep that in during peak week? Listen, man, stop. You have to pay attention to what I'm saying to you.
Stop changing.
Consistency. If you've been doing it, I need to be aware. You need to keep doing it. Change nothing.
Yep.
Okay. And then a day later, it's another question. Like, for the love of God, consistency is what matters. That's what I need to know.
Answer.
If there's anything that's new that you're trying to give, then ask me.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So one last good carb story. I was prepping this dude, and he's a great client. Dude, he's a great dude. I've been prepping him on and off for years. And this is the first prep I had with him. And I'm giving him his high. He's responding well. Around 6 weeks out, start doing the high days. And his high days his weight keeps jumping way high. Like, that's an awful large response, my friend, for 300 grams of carbs. And he's like, I'm just very sensitive. It comes right out. I'm like, okay. Comes right out, loses a little bit more, give him another high day. Weight spikes way up again. I'm like, listen, man, you really responding like this way to high days? Be honest with me. And he goes, yeah. It's normal for me to spike this high with carbs, then it comes right out. I'm like, well, if that's the case, man, like, I'm going to be pulling your high days.
Yep.
And I'm going to be doing more fats as calories and bringing those carbs down to make sure the calories are there. But we're not having the same carb response because we can't have this response. Like, it's making me nervous. It's making me unable to read what's going on because now your response to these high days are varying. It's not like you're up 3 pounds on a high day, it comes back down. It's like one high day, you're 4 pounds up. The next high day, you're 8 pounds up. The next high day, you're 2 pounds up, all the same amount of food. That makes me uneasy. So I'm going to removing them. So as we get closer and closer to the show, he's ready. And we stop seeing those polls because I completely get rid of his high days. And now he has no excuse because what he was doing was eating off plan. Right? So that now he has no excuse to justify a high spike. So we get to 7 days out. And he's like, dude,
I hate to pause you. Can I pause you for a second? I'm about to piss myself.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off there, man. Go ahead.
So we get to 7 days out. And he's like, hey, what's carb up going to be like? And like, I'll be honest with you. I'm petrified of carbing you up because usually my high days, your response to high days throughout all of prep is how I'm starting to gain data on how your carb's going to be. Oh, I go, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to add 30 grams of carbs to your diet on Monday. And let's see what happens. And he goes, that's really low. I'm like, dude, you petrify the hell out of me how your body responds because you said you're very sensitive. So I legitimately gave him just like 30 grams of carbs. And then the next day his weight drops. So then I gave him 60 grams of carbs. And the next day his weight drops. Then I give him 90 grams of carbs on Wednesday and his weight drops again. So then I'm like, bro, don't bullshit me. I go, were you going above and beyond on the high days? I go, dude, because I need to know this because I'm about to make a decision for Thursday. And he goes, yeah, man, I was eating a lot more. And I'm like, that's all I need to know. As long as it was a lot more. So now I'm just going to use the data that I have in these last 4 days as something that's good because now the carbs are going in, cortisol is going down, his body's dumping that excess water he was holding from that fatigue, and now he's looking drier and harder, but his weight's going down. I'm like, okay, so I have a little bit of a cushion now. So long story short, I ended up going up to 350 carbs on Friday before the show, and he loses weight again, and he looks hard, gnarly, and he wins the overall show in that show. So
Gotta
then
love
after
it.
on Sunday, oh, guy, you can't do that. You're making my job more difficult and making me prep you in a way where you might not be your best.
Yeah, it's so funny. It's like, why shoot yourself in the foot? You're messing yourself up here. This is ridiculous. But obviously, want to be considerate of your time. I know you have to hop off here. So, for anyone who is not already following Chris, it's Chris Tuttle. What's your Instagram?
.rd.
.rd. Okay.
Yep.
And then if you have not already, you can see it in the background of his video there. Your Drink More. You got to make sure you guys check out drinkmore.com. I am obsessed with this stuff, and it does not ever leave my
We
water.
just got lemonade and sweet tea in yesterday.
Oh, thank God. Yes. I saw that in your story, and I was like, I think I know what this is. And I was going to message you, but I was like, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, the sweet tea actually better. We had to change some ingredients due to shortage, and we reformulated it to a minor degree, and it actually the color and the flavor's better.
I love the sweet tea, man. That's one of my favorites. The blue raz and the peach has been holding me, but that sweet tea's got my heart.
Yeah, for sure.
But all right, dude, I appreciate you so much, man. Have a good rest of your day.
All right, no problem, dude.